Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. My name is Bobby Zirkin, a former state senator from Baltimore County, here on behalf of the Maryland State Bar Association, as we continue to connect with candidates for office. Today, we have been interviewing and are continuing to interview candidates for governor and lieutenant governor here at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. As we approach the July primary election, the State Bar remains committed to our members and the public at large to give a nonpartisan forum about the important issues in this election. MSBA has appreciated a great relationship with the executive branch over the years, and we look forward to continuing that relationship. Please visit our website at msba.org/connect with the candidates to see this interview, as well as any of the other interviews that we've conducted with the gubernatorial candidates, lieutenant governor, and attorney general candidates. And this afternoon, I am pleased to have candidate for lieutenant governor and the councilwoman from Prince George's County, Monique. Welcome to our show, and it's great to see you. And please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And I'd like to just add, it's always great to see you. And I'll start with you and my husband worked together for several years. And I know my husband is not going to be running again, Delegate Jay Walker, but it has been such an honor for me to really get to learn the process in Maryland, just from his experience. And of course, working closely with many of you to get bills passed to help in the areas of education and healthcare for children through my links at the legislature experience since 2007. So I want to thank you for that. But for those who don't know me, I'm Monique Anderson Walker, and I'm a former county council member of Prince George's County. I'm a lifelong Marylander, born and raised in Prince George's County. Had the opportunity to raise my 3 children there. My husband and I have enjoyed it. My parents still live there, and I own a small business in Prince George's County in Maryland. So, this is my home. One of the reasons I decided to run, I'm 51 years old now. I ran for the first time for council and won 4 years ago. So clearly I'm not a career politician, but I am a mother, I am a concerned citizen, and I'm a problem solver. So essentially that is what brought me into the fold. I was fortunate enough to be very impactful in my role as a county council member and had numerous bills that I tackled, as well as initiatives to improve transportation, especially for those who are most vulnerable in our society. I created programs to improve our environment, including having a bill passed to have the Army Corps of Engineers look at heavily flood-prone areas, and mainly so we can protect home values and businesses. And we want to focus on protecting our tree canopy as we move forward with climate change and the deluges we're now getting, are what we call rain bombs, which were so foreign 10 years ago. There are other issues in our society that I have focused on. I'm very excited. I've had some great impact with regard to, certainly environmental justice and improving our classroom experience for our children. I recognize as a mother that I'm very concerned about what we're leaving behind, and that's pretty much one of my big focuses: education and healthcare. But I'll let you ask questions.
Well, we will get to a lot of these issues. I should have said in the introduction, of course, is that your running mate is Controller Peter Francho, and so we're looking forward to having a great conversation with you about the issues you just raised and so many more. So let me just take one step back. A lot of accomplishments in your career, both in the private sector as well as the public sector. What would be kind of the Francho Anderson Walker top 2, top 3 specific issues that you would like to bring should your ticket be the one that is chosen to be the next governor and lieutenant governor?
Well, I'll say that we have an integrated agenda. So it's hard to pick one because you can't have prosperous schools and families without having public safety. You can't have roadway improvements without tackling environmental challenges. All of these things are so closely tied. But without question, public safety is one of the top issues that we know we need to deal with, as well as generational wealth building. And of course, all of these are integrated. So with that includes focusing on health and education. specifically new opportunities in how we learn and more exposure experiences for our students, so that when they do come out of high school, they are career ready. We're actually looking at this cradle to career exposure experience in elementary, middle, and high school. And I've actually based this on a program that I started, a STEAM program, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics program that I initiated in my councilmanic district to get kids excited about STEAM and getting them excited specifically about drones. So in this program, I partnered with Global Air Drone Academy. Elementary, middle, and high school students built drones. They learned various applications for that drone, and they actually coded the drone. This was such a popular program that Joint Base Andrews command staff asked if they could bring that onto their Spark Center on the base. And they continued to add to the exposure experience. But long story short, through this experience, we are developing pathways for our students to go into internships and to job opportunities. What we would like to see is in high school, our children having clearances and certifications and licensing, so that when they graduate, they have a career path. If they choose to go to college, that's great. But that goes to, of course, the wealth building side. Part of that is also health. You know, health and wealth are closely tied together, and we see a correlation between poor health and the lack of wealth. And just to separate, we're a very affluent state. We make a lot of money, but we spend a lot of money to live here. That's affluence. Wealth is what you can pass down. And we're much more focused on what people are able to pass down. So they're not just surviving, they are actually thriving. And it starts with our young folks. We need to get them excited about the future and give them hope. We also need to make sure that we're preparing our generations to follow for the new economy. The jobs of today are not the jobs of the future. And it's going to take us introducing our students to vocational tech as well as medical vocation, so that they have opportunities to be the innovators of the future and can participate in the prosperity of Maryland. So yeah, that would be it. Public safety, certainly, and health and education, because they're so closely tied with success. And of course, there's health in all policies, so even in housing.
So let me take a step back and talk a little bit about public safety, some of the specific issues within public safety. And I know that's something that you've dealt with as a council member in Prince George's County, a lot of similar issues of what we're facing in Baltimore County, as well as in Baltimore City. There's obviously been a fairly significant uptick in crime here in Maryland, in our city, across the country. Governor Hogan has gotten very high marks for his approach, even in the city, or at least what he was trying to accomplish. There's issues about school resource officers, there's sentencing and parole and probation, and so on. Let me just ask this as an open-ended question for you. With 350 murders in the city of Baltimore, as well as another 1,000 plus non-fatal shootings, I guess my question is, what do we do about this epidemic, not just for the long term, but really for the short term, so we can stop burying so many of our citizens?
Well, you're right. That's very open-ended, because, you know, it's not simple, or it would have been answered and we would have been addressing this. But I think that where we need to start is opportunities for job creation. We need to look at the underlying issues. I'm not saying that all crime and shootings has to do with people's economic state. I think that there's mental health, certainly, that lends itself to that. It's access to guns, easy access to guns. I think that there are the various challenges there, but finding some structure where students have an opportunity to see a future for themselves, I think, is helpful. And even for our returning citizens, for those people who maybe parents who took years off while they raised children, who aren't ready for this workforce, to give them opportunities for free workforce training to actually go into their next chapter in career. I think that helps reduce crime. I think also, and that can be something that's very immediate. We are proposing, Peter Francho and I are proposing a 6-week job training program where people can, if you're under the age of 25 or younger, where people can actually live while they're being trained in one location. So they're not concerned about housing. So again, this speaks to some people who are still looking for direction, but it also speaks to some people who are returning. And when I talked about returning earlier, I didn't finish. Veterans that are returning back to the area that want opportunities for work, as well as our imprisoned population that returns. We don't want recidivism, so we recognize we have to have some structure in place. Peter Francho and I have looked at some best practices around the nation and some that are really just right next door in Washington, D.C., to look at opportunities for shoring up those things. With regard to mental health challenges, we're looking at how we can institute Kerwin and fully funded as it's been presented, but just as a floor. We recognize there's so much more we need to build upon with Kerwin. The healthcare, specifically mental health care, is critical, and we want to have our children familiar with what's going on with them. So we recognize that we might have to institute some kind of programming in schools so that people are in touch with themselves. I think that we also need more peer counseling and support. We know that there's challenges with SROs. Some jurisdictions feel that they're not necessary. I don't believe that we can count them out. I think we need to focus on more community support and building those SROs in schools that build a rapport with students. So it's not a antagonistic relationship, but a great one. With our mental health support, I think we should also bring that into the schools, not just for the students and teachers, but also for families. Sometimes families feel that there's a stigma with them going to seek counseling, but if they're coming to a school, for some reason, it just feels a little bit different. So we want to look at that for crime too. But listen,
Okay.
it's not just the gun. It is looking at why people are volatile. Why do people feel so unstable? And what is not being addressed?
Are
And
there
that's-
any,
yeah.
I'm sorry, obviously a lot of complex and intertwined issues, as you said. Are there any, the last, there's a big Supreme Court case that just came down the pike, which I'm not going to ask you about yet. That'll be the next kind of series of questions. But the one that came before that was one that got a day's worth of attention before Roe v. Wade was overturned. And that was of some significance to Maryland, which is having to do with essentially the right to carry in the state of Maryland. There was a New York statute that was almost identical to Maryland's, which said that you had to have a good and substantial reason to carry a gun. That's the same language we have, and the Supreme Court said, to get a permit to carry. And the Supreme Court said that that was unconstitutional,
they
a
struck that
violation of
down.
the Second Amendment. So essentially, they just overturned our law too, and
Mhm.
leaving us as essentially a right to carry state. And so I guess the question is, I know it's very fresh and maybe haven't had an answer, a lot of people are still digesting the whirlwind of activity from the Supreme Court, but
Listen,
have you had an
hear-
opportunity to take a look at that yet?
Yeah, so SCOTUS did strike down a New York law limiting where gun owners could carry a firearm outside of the home. We do recognize that that and the workings within Congress contradict each other. So that's interesting to me. And they were both within a day of each other. So we're going to have to figure out how to work around some of the challenges we have, even with we're going to have to probably institute and hire more attorneys to help us understand which law we should focus on. And that's the challenge. That's the challenge.
It's a challenging time on that issue. I just was wondering, I know it's very fresh, just wanted to see if there was any, in terms of
I think what is
narrowing
good,
down.
I think what is good, if you're not going to, reduce people's opportunity to carry, then it is good that at least we've closed some of the, red flag laws, that we have closed some of the loopholes, that we're able to confiscate guns temporarily if we feel that somebody is, dangerous.
Yeah.
With the boyfriend, and forgive me, I'm trying to go by memory. I think it's called the boyfriend law loophole.
Something like that, yeah.
If one was ever threatened um, by somebody who they were intimate with, that loophole is closed as well. So I think a lot remains to be seen as to how all of this will work together.
Okay.
Um,
So let me turn to another public safety issue. It's a little bit different. And as councilwoman, I know in Baltimore County, they've just come out with the numbers, and I know it's somewhat similar to Montgomery County. It looks like there will be some 300 or so vacancies within the police department just in Baltimore County alone.
Mhm.
Montgomery County, there was some article that said that they had a recruiting class of, I think it was 9 or 10 when they were looking for, 5 or 6 times that amount for the recruits. I don't know if that's an issue in Prince George's
of
County
course
as
it is.
well.
It's nationwide.
What do we do about this? So, all of a sudden we have a lack of police officers. And so when somebody is in a dangerous situation, domestic violence, or somebody coming to the scene of an accident or drunk driving or any number of other crimes going on, we don't have the officers to go there, which seems like it's a crisis, like it's a looming emergency. How are you? I guess one of my questions, I was curious, since you're a councilwoman in Prince George's, how are you handling it from the local level? And then if you and Peter Francho are elected governor, lieutenant governor, what do we do about this from a statewide basis?
One of the things I attempted to do on the council was to discuss raising the pay of police officers.
Okay.
And the rationale for that, a couple things: raise the pay of police officers, recruit more local police officers, so grow our own, which means expand more of the cadet programs so that we can start people young to have an interest in this. And when you focus on community policing, not that you're ever going to get rid of some of the bad actors and the negative impact of those bad actors on society, but there's a better opportunity, at least, to cultivate in your immediate community those people who love the community and have been a part of the community. So I think that's important. The reason that I think it's important also to pay a salary to police officers and a family supporting salary to police officers is because I think it can be a challenge when police officers have 2 and 3 other jobs, and then they're coming to work, sometimes exhausted, and sometimes making decisions that they would not have made if they were well rested and they weren't working a couple of other jobs. So I think that's important. Training is critical. And getting rid of our no-knock warrants is also a step to take as well, in kind of bettering our opportunities for more people to come into the police force and for the police to be seen more as partners in the community as opposed to threat in the community.
All right. We have so little time and so many issues to go. So let me go to the next Supreme Court case, which I had not prepared to ask as of a few days ago, but now obviously is the hottest topic in the nation, which is the obliteration of Roe v. Wade by the Supreme Court. Maryland already has, under the law, enshrined the right to choose. And I guess my question is, are there other things, including but not limited to putting this into the Constitution? Are there any other thing? Do you agree with that idea about putting that into the Constitution? And if so, why? If not, why not? And are there other things that we should be looking at on that specific issue?
I think we just need to recognize that we need to make sure that women's health is supported. We need to make sure that reproductive freedoms exist. But in saying that, let's recognize people will continue to seek abortions, whether they're legal or not legal. What we need to have in place is funding, and the release of the $3.5 million to really support training those paramedical people, the non-doctors, to participate in the abortion health of women. I think that's important, the healthcare part. The other is looking at some of the how to support families in general. women in general, more childcare. Peter Francho and I are looking at opportunities to expand childcare so that people don't feel that children are a burden, that they can actually put their children into childcare while they go to work, while they go to school, while they continue to live their lives. So Peter and I are looking at a portion of the $7.5 billion surplus that we currently have to utilize for area childcare support for families.
Okay.
But with regard to your question, there's no question. We need to just expand support opportunities for women and women's health.
Okay. I'm going to move quickly through these things. Another hot topic issue, because it's going potentially into our Constitution, is the issue of marijuana and marijuana legalization. It's on the ballot in November. I know you're worried more about the July ballot than the November one at this point in time, but I guess my question is, in Maryland, we have medical cannabis and decriminalization of marijuana. What are your thoughts about the referendum? Do you think it's going to pass? Do you support it? Any thoughts about kind of the next steps that have been put forward by the General Assembly on the issue of marijuana?
Well, I'll say this: if marijuana, if it does pass, then let's make sure that we're taxing it appropriately to help in our other areas where we need to support our communities. I think it's important to look at how marijuana has either been helpful or not helpful in state resources, just so that we're educated on it. Let's look at what's happening in Colorado. Let's look at California. I have read that marijuana, in particular, the black market for marijuana has gone up in California since the legalization. So let's just make sure that whatever we do, let's learn from where other people made their mistakes and put in some best practices so that we can maximally benefit from moving something forward if that is the desire of the people to move it forward.
Okay. All right. I won't press you any further on that one. My question for you, now turning completely away from public safety and drugs and those issues, we don't have too much time left, but I know you touched on the environment a little bit. Any thoughts about, I guess, what does a Francho Anderson Walker administration focus on in the protection of our bay or clean water? What are your environmental priorities, and what do you hope to accomplish?
Well, we hope to expand job opportunities while improving our environment at the same time. So looking at Trade Point Atlantic, which you're probably very familiar with, our port in Baltimore, using that as an opportunity to build jobs while we're building wind turbines to support wind energy in the region. We're also looking to, and I expect that Peter Francho will sign an executive order as soon as he gets into office to determine that we will use all of our state vehicles, turn them over into electric vehicles as one of our desired ends is to decrease carbon emissions and have zero net carbon emissions here. That is definitely a goal. As you've heard from me, I'm very interested in preserving our tree canopy, and I know Peter is as well. We recognize that Maryland, various parts of Maryland has suffered from flooding and other environmental challenges. We want to address those and make sure that people's home values are sustained and businesses can continue to flourish as a result. So we need to be proactive in ensuring that we are doing everything that we can do to maintain a healthy environment and that we have something special to pass down to the next generations.
Are those some of the same? I'm sorry.
In addition to that, Peter and I are very interested in expanding our agricultural offerings. We're looking at in our schools having a more focus towards aquaponics and agriculture as well, and hydroponics. We believe that that food production is going to be a huge challenge for us moving forward, and we want to be ahead of that. We want to be ahead of that discussion and start educating our kids to participate in this new economy as well. And while we're on the subject of new economies, I just want to say that we do view healthcare as an opportunity to expand our economy and expand educational opportunities for our children. So in addition to the kind of VOTech that we're interested, vocational technology, we're looking at how we can build upon our health and wellness economy, even looking so far as labeling Maryland as the wellness state and building opportunities for people from other countries to come here for medical tourism, use of our facilities, because we have tremendous teaching hospitals. We've got tremendous resources like our lakes, our streams, our mountains, our wonderful environment, natural resources. And we want to cultivate that and make that to be a part of a growing economy for us. And in doing so, we're going to have to expand our federally qualified health centers so that people have access to healthcare. And in doing that, we will need to produce people to staff those places. So we're looking at our high schools to really be a part of building our staffing for ancillary support, paramedical support, as well as our infrastructure support. We are looking to put in an infrastructure academy so that our students can go in the direction of the trades, so that they can participate in what we believe will be a 30-year or so big dig in improving our infrastructure, not so much our streets and bridges, those things you see, but it's what you don't see. Our stormwater management system, our broadband expansion that's necessary, as well as our water utility piping, which is over 100 years old and is crumbling. All of these things lend themselves to healthcare and, quite frankly, to our security of our state, as we've got to be concerned about attacks on our infrastructure. We need to shore it up.
So one of the groups you're talking to today, within the Bar Association, are small businesses like myself who have, small law firms. I guess one of my questions is, one of your opponents, should your ticket win and should her ticket win, Kelly Schultz as the Commerce Secretary, would be competing ideas about how to grow our economy in the small business sector. And I guess we only have about 5 minutes left in this, but I wanted to give you an opportunity. I know that's something that's of importance to you since you're somebody who's been in business as well, or is in business. And so I guess my question is, what do you do for the small businesses? And let me just preface it by saying, in the last General Assembly session, there were some bills passed that you do hear some grumblings from business owners about some things that maybe they are not particularly happy about in the last few years. So I guess my question to you is, should you all become governor, lieutenant governor, is there anything for small businesses in particular that you can do to keep us here?
Well, let me just start by saying during COVID, we lost about 24% of our small businesses, and those businesses did not return, and they won't likely. So what we recognize in that is our recovery is dependent upon small business. We need small businesses to survive. So what we have put in place are support opportunities for small and minority businesses, but small businesses, to be able to thrive through some of these challenges. We have increased goals, but we've also taken away, or we're looking at taking away some waivers so that some of the bigger companies don't eliminate smaller companies from opportunities. That's critical to us. In order for small businesses to survive, they need to get paid promptly. So we were very supportive of the prompt payment bill, so that small businesses, once large businesses get their payment, small businesses get their payment within 15 days as opposed to 9 months, because we know small businesses are very volatile. But I think what you're wanting to hear is that we're also looking at utilizing or creating a support system through funding for small businesses. And I don't know exactly how that's going to look, but what we have discussed is everything ranging from grants to very low interest loans, so that we have a revolving fund. We're in a very good situation in that we have a $7.5 billion surplus. We want to be thoughtful about how that works. So we want to put probably about a third of that into a rainy day fund. But we do want to make sure that we're able to strengthen our small businesses. Some of what we've also desired to put in place once we are elected, if we're so lucky to be elected,
Right.
are things that will help small businesses indirectly, like paying off student loan debt for students who live, work, and pay taxes in Maryland. Um, if they live here for 5 years, pay taxes, we will forgive a portion of their student debt. And what that will allow them to do is buy a home, invest in a business, which is great, and just invest in Maryland. That's important to us. We're also looking at opportunities to lure, create other kinds of economies here, and to prepare our students to participate and to be the innovators of the future. So those are the various ways that we want to certainly help small business. I may be repeating myself, but daycare or childcare is another part of that. It's indirect in that there's a large cost with childcare, and we would like to subsidize a good bit of that so that many people can go back to work or participate in the workforce where maybe otherwise they would not be encouraged to do so.
All right. So I am getting the sign from that we have come to the end of this. It flew by, a lot of information in just a short amount of time. So many issues that we've gone through, but so many to go through. I just wanted to say, on behalf of the Maryland State Bar Association, thank you so much for spending a half hour with us here and sharing your vision on a whole range of issues. I know that if you want to give kind of the last word, if you want to just give a couple minutes as to right before the primary election, why should people be attracted? Why should the Bar Association and the public at large be attracted to the Francho Anderson Walker ticket?
Well, listen, I certainly am so honored to have had this opportunity. I do want to say that Peter Francho and I are ready to hit the ground running, and we're capable. Both of us have worked through a pandemic. We've served through sequestration, two of probably the most challenging times in history. And we have been governing during those periods of time. Me on the very local level, of course, him on the state level. So we're very well equipped and having understanding how to handle these challenges. But I think even more so, we can be preemptive moving forward. And that's what we really desire to do, to be preemptive. In addition to that, there are things we've already put in place that we just plan to build upon. So we're not talking the talk. We've actually already started with many of these initiatives, like public safety, through the hashtag Driving at Home initiative for our safe roadways and for our pedestrians as well as our cyclists, for looking at expansion of bike paths and other multi-modes of transportation and transit, which we didn't touch on, but that are critical to economic development as well. And those are things we've already started working on. I know I have, and I've worked in the Transportation Planning Board, which has prepared me to deal regionally with some of these challenges that we do have. With healthcare, I developed a program for prescription assistance so that people don't have to make a choice between paying a bill or getting their health care, their prescription drugs. We're also looking at preventative measures so that we don't have to worry about people spending so much reacting to it. We want to prevent hypertension, asthma, and diabetes, some of those challenges that are out there. But listen, we're enthusiastic and we're ready. And
Right.
we're out there, we're fighters. So thank you so
All
much
right.
for the opportunity, and we do look forward to serving you.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for spending some time with us here at the Maryland State Bar Association's interviews. And let me just say once again, for those of you who would like to see these interviews, whether it's the gubernatorial candidates, the lieutenant governor, the attorney general candidates, you can go to, make sure I get this right, msba.org/connect with the candidates. And again, Monique Anderson Walker, candidate councilwoman from Prince George's County and candidate for lieutenant governor. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
All
Appreciate
right.
you. All right. Francho.com.
All right. All right. Good seeing you. Bye-bye.
Take care.